Well, hello dragons, and welcome to this instructional video for Lesson 13 Part 1, Federalism, One Nation and 50 States. The main idea behind this civics lesson is that under federalism, states carry out much of the work of meeting the needs of citizens. With that in mind, by the end of watching this video, you'll be able to summarize the powers of the states, compare state constitutions to the federal constitution, and analyze the need for balance between the federal government and state governments. Now that the outcomes for this lesson have been shared with you, let's get started. The national government is only one level of our government. Each of the 50 states also has its own government. If your public school system had problems, would you write a letter to the president? Probably not, because most of the laws and policies that affect the public schools are made by state and local governments, not by the government in Washington, D.C. In fact, our state governments carry out much of the work of meeting the needs of citizens. These governments have major responsibility for public education, transportation, and health and safety. How do you know which tasks and services belong to the national government and which belong to the states? The answer to this question will give you a better picture of the role of state government. Some delegates at the Constitutional Convention of 1787 argued that only a strong national government could handle the problems facing the country. Other delegates wanted the states to keep most of the power. In trying to bring together these points of view and to form a more perfect union, the framers settled on the system of federalism. Federalism divides some powers between the national and state governments while allowing them to share other powers. The Constitution lists what the powers of the national government are. They include the power to declare war, make treaties with other countries, and to coin money. The Constitution does not specifically list the powers of the states. Instead, the 10th Amendment gives to the states or to the people all power is not given to the national government or denied to the states. Powers that the states alone hold include the power to set up local governments, conduct elections, set up public school systems, and oversee businesses. The states also make laws protecting the health and safety of their residents, such as traffic laws. The national government and state governments also share many powers. They both collect taxes, borrow money, set up courts, enforce laws, and punish lawbreakers. Both levels of government may also provide public assistance, government programs that give help to people in need. Often called welfare, this help can include money for people below a certain income level, food for the hungry, and services such as health care. Before the United States Constitution was written, each state already had its own constitution. In fact, those early constitutions became models for our national constitution. New states joined the Union under rules stated in the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Under those rules, when a territory wants to become a state, it must prepare a constitution, setting up its own plan of government. The constitution then has to be approved by the people of the territory and by Congress. Finally, Congress votes on whether to admit the state. The federal Constitution contains about 3,500 words. The Constitution of the state of Alabama has about 220,000 words. Why this great difference? One reason is that state constitutions are more detailed. For example, the federal Constitution simply states that the legislative branch of government has the power to levy and collect taxes. In contrast, many state constitutions list what kinds of taxes may be levied and how they may be collected. Although different in length, most state constitutions are similar in form to the United States Constitution. All state constitutions begin with a preamble, describing the purposes of the state government. Each state constitution also includes a Bill of Rights, similar to the Federal Bill of Rights, listing the freedoms guaranteed to all the state's citizens. However, some state constitutions offer fuller protections for individual rights and freedoms. The Illinois Constitution, for example, guarantees equal rights for women. Like our federal constitution, all state constitutions establish legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government. The powers of these state branches are much the same as those of the national government. However, state constitutions describe these powers in great detail. Because state constitutions are so detailed, they are often less flexible than the federal constitution. Therefore, they are more likely to be changed as conditions and needs change. The most common way to change a state constitution is by amendment, usually proposed by the state legislature. In 18 states, citizens may initiate or begin change by constitutional initiative, a process by which citizens propose an amendment by gathering a required number of signatures on a petition. When enough people have signed the petition, the amendment goes to the legislature for consideration or to the voters for approval. A state can also rewrite its constitution. Rewriting a constitution most often requires a constitutional convention, which must first be approved by the voters in some states or by the legislature in others. The rewritten constitution must also go to the people for a vote. Of more than 230 state constitutional conventions in our nation's history, a little more than half have resulted in new constitutions. Some people think of federalism as being like a layer cake. In this view, layers of government, national and state, are seen as separate with different powers. In action, however, federalism is more like a marble cake, with the powers mixed and overlapping. The way the powers of national government and state governments mix and overlap is not set, but continues to change. Some people press to keep the national government out of what they see as the state's business. Others think that the national government should have greater power over the states in certain matters. Those in favor of states' rights point out that the states differ greatly, and therefore state governments can serve their people better than the national government can. State governments, they argue, should be allowed to fit laws and programs to the particular needs of their states. For example, states with large cities need more low-cost housing, health care, and public transportation than do states with mostly farmland. People who favor states' rights also point out that citizens often feel closer to their state governments than to the federal government. James Madison recognized this point of view when he wrote that the first and most natural attachment of the people will be to the governments of their respective states. Dividing power can also make it easier for each level of government to do its job. When states take responsibility for local issues such as education, job training, and transportation, the national government can then focus its attention on its major responsibilities. Finally, state governments can experiment with new programs which may later be adopted by other states or even by the national government. Oregon Senator Gordon Smith was asked why he felt the effort to clean up the Columbia River should be left to the state government. Oregonians have long prided themselves on finding innovative solutions to local problems, he said. Increasing the role of the federal government can only upset the progress being made at the local level. Those in favor of a strong role for the national government point out that state laws and services vary widely. As a result, the opportunities in different states are not always equal. As you learned in Lessons 7 and 12, in the past, some states denied African Americans the right to vote and to attend school with whites. Today, some states might spend more money per student on education or offer more special programs, such as computer education, than other states. Thus, critics of states' rights argue the national government needs to play a stronger role to ensure equal opportunity for people in all the states. In addition, many citizens see that some problems are too big for individual states to solve. Building a dam to control floods or provide electric power may cost more than a state can afford. The state needs the help of the federal government to meet its citizens' needs. Sometimes, too, a problem involves several states. One example is environmental issues. If one state's factories are causing pollution in another state, the national government might have to step in. In general, the power of the national government has expanded as our nation has grown. In the 21st century, citizens will have to continue seeking the most effective balance between national and state government. Do the problems facing our nation require the national government to take on added responsibilities? Or are there certain problems that are best handled by the states? If so, which ones? These are questions that you will have to help answer. So that's the way it is with Lesson 13, Part 1, Federalism, One Nation and 50 States. At this point, you should know that the first 13 states created their own constitutions and governments before the United States Constitution was written. Federalism guides the relations between the states and the federal government by identifying where their powers are separate and where they overlap, and disagreements over the balance of state power and federal power between those who favor states' rights and greater power for the federal government continues today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to have the entire catalog of civics videos available at your fingertips. Click the subscribe button and then click the follow bell to receive notifications as to when the channel is updated. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in class, Dragons. See ya!